Good morning, and welcome back to Tekken. I've been asked a number of times who I think would be good characters for beginner level players to start out with. I've been hosting the beginner sessions now for a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I've seen a lot of people come into competitive Tekken and start learning the game, switch characters, switch off. I've also played Tekken in tournament for about 4 years now, so I have my process of having learned the game. Maybe some of this can be a valuable insight to you if you're not sure who to pick. My default go-to option is always just to pick whoever you think looks cool. There's no shame in just kind of picking whichever character you think vibes with you the most. This game takes a really long time to learn, so you better like the character who you spend that time with. The cool thing about Tekken is every single character is competitively viable. These characters here, these bears, are probably more difficult to use than the other characters. You know, you're gonna have a hard time on these eventually, but, you know, they did have a Panda player win Tekken World Tour Finals in Season 2, so it's not that you can't win with anyone in this game. Every single character in this game you can win with. It's just a matter of these two characters are definitely, if you're going to play bears, you should know what you're getting into. And that is that they are kind of not as good as the other characters by design. So, every other character is 100% intended to be competitively viable by the developers. And if you're used to, like, archetypes from, like, Street Fighter, you know, you have, like, your zoners and your shotos, your grapplers. Those don't exist as hard and fast in Tekken as they do in 2D fighting games. Tekken characters are kind of meant to represent a fighting style. You know, that's why they have like 80 to 150 moves in some cases. So, you know, you look at Law, for example, he's meant to fight like Bruce Lee. So, within Bruce Lee's fighting style, you can have offensive versions of Jeet Kune Do, or you could have defensive versions of it. So you also see offensive and defensive players gravitating to Law. You don't have to play these characters in just one way. In fact, the best players, the absolute highest level players, are changing when they're offensive and defensive and so on, sometimes multiple times per round, because that's just the higher level that they're playing at. So all that in mind, there are still, like, some characters that are probably going to vibe more with you. Like, if you always play the grappler, we got some grappler-ish characters. I mean, King has the closest to a grappler that you will find in this game, but he still uses a lot of, like, non-throws. There's not a character that's just going to use throws and, like, you know, a mix-up for those throws. King plays a lot of regular... In fact, he's got really good neutral. So that's a little different, but he's got the best throw mix-up. Same thing with Armor King. They both share the giant swing throw, which is a basically unseeable 10-frame throw that you can mix up with other throws. Normally, you can react to throws in Tekken and break them based on which hand it is. The Kings kind of break that rule. There's also Marduk, who's kind of like the grappler-adjacent character. He just does, like, his throws just do a billion damage. So you might like Marduk as well if you're kind of a grappler style player. You know, if you like the ninjas, there's some ninjas in this game. You know, they mostly end with Mitsu, but there's also Master Raven. So you can kind of find that. If you like sumo wrestlers, there's just one guy. So you just go pick Ganryu and you're done. If you like Metal Gear Solid, you can play Dragunov. If you like Bruce Lee, we already talked about Law. Now, that's going to work for a lot of people, but some people are still just like, well, no, I just want to, like, who do I play? I don't really know. I'm kind of lost. I don't really pick characters based on that. And it seems like if every character is just kind of doing the same thing, then how can I even narrow this down? All right, for you guys, I got some recommendations. My number one recommendation is Shaheen. Shaheen is great because he kind of lets you try all the different flavors of Tekken gameplay because he's very well-rounded. He's designed to be kind of a jack-of-all-trades without being too complicated. And on top of that, he's got some pretty good moves. Like, he's got the slide mix-up, which is a thing that some characters have, which is a really good 50-50. He has one of the best hop kicks in the game. He has one of the best down for ones in the game. So he's got strong tools. Also high damage output, if I didn't say that yet. So Shaheen, totally a character that's strong and lets you try the different ways of playing Tekken. And you might find you play some Shaheen for a while and you gravitate towards certain elements of the game, and then you can find a main who kind of is specializing in those elements. So that's a great way to kind of find a main if you're looking for someone that way. Now, Kazumi's also a great character to start with because she has both really strong movement and really good pokes. She's kind of designed around a small handful of moves that are simple but really effective. So that's a great way to kind of learn the game system of Tekken, because you're not really bogged down with what does my character do, what strings am I going to do. You don't really have to think about that with Kazumi. So she lets you focus on learning the game. Also a really good character if you want to experiment with using movement in a 3D game. She has great movement, so you're less likely to get punished for trying to move. And so it encourages you, I think, to experiment with movement. She also has a number of tools that she borrowed from the Mishimas. I know her last name is Mishima, but she's only a Mishima by marriage. So she does let you kind of experiment with a little bit of that Mishima-style gameplay without requiring you to use the execution element that you need to play the Mishimas. So I think she's a great character to go with if you're kind of interested in the Mishima style, but you don't want to commit that hard to practicing the execution. Another character who I think is great is Jack. Jack 7 is a very fundamentals-based character. He's built around a handful of moves, just like Kazumi and kind of Shaheen. All these characters are kind of poke-heavy, which means using like moves like jab and down forward 1 to build a basic, simple, low-risk, low-reward offense around. And in Tekken, we use pokes to kind of get information on where we can place our bigger tools, like our launchers. So that's what I mean when I'm saying pokes. So Jack, also great pokes. He's also a big body character, so if you tend to gravitate towards the big boys in fighting games, he gives you a nice taste of that. Big bodies in Tekken, you have longer limbs, so you tend to be a little bit better from further away just because your character is literally bigger than your opponent, so you can reach further. Jack also has the nice little advantage that he has a what we call complete throw game. So he has command throws for the 1, 2, and 1+2 breaks, which most characters in this game actually don't have. That was a Tekken 7 system change, so Kazumi and Shaheen only have 1+2 command throws, and then they have generics, which can be broken with either 1 or 2. So what that all means is Jack is a great character to try out if you are interested in applying like a throw-based mind game. He's got really good throws. So those are 3 characters that I think would be great if you're not sure who to pick. I know a lot of people tend to go right to the Mishimas because they're on the box art and they look cool, and the Electric Wind God Fist is a move that a lot of people who don't play Tekken know about and want to try to do. The problem with the Mishimas is they're execution heavy, so like if you start playing them, you can kind of get frustrated that you're not able to do the Electric Wind God Fist because it requires a frame-perfect motion button press input, and if you haven't practiced that a lot, it can be a little tricky to do. So people do that and they get frustrated. The Mishimas also have a lot of movement built into how they're supposed to play. They have their wave dash mechanic, which is a style of moving forward in this game that requires execution, and which then opens up there's certain inputs that you want to do out of wave dash that are hard to do, and on top of all that, they're kind of balanced around having really good punishment, which means if you don't know how to punish the other, 47 characters very well, you don't know their moves yet because you just started the game, then you can feel a little bit outgunned because your character doesn't have some of the tools defensively that other characters have, because you're expected to be able to punish with these characters and utilize that really good punishment. So all of this really adds up to these characters are a little bit more difficult to use than most. Another character who's kind of like that is Brian. Brian, also very like straightforward, solid, fundamental character, but he does not have really any sort of panic moves they use outside of like a really situational parry. So he doesn't even have like a hop kick, which at least Devil Jin and Jin have hop kicks. So Brian is a tough character to use if you're just getting into Tekken. He also is designed around taunt, which is a really difficult input that his wall game is built around to give him unblockable setups at the wall. So these four characters in particular are super popular with beginners, but a lot of beginners end up picking them up and then dropping them because they get frustrated with how difficult they are. Or, I mean, some people are just like, hey, I am going to practice. I'm going to practice. I'm going to learn this stuff because this is who I want to play. I'm going to play Kazuya. And so they don't progress as quickly as people on other characters. You know, you just, if you pick a character that makes your job easier on offense so you can focus on learning the game itself, that's going to help you progress faster. You're going to get a little bit, like, I see a lot of Mishima players get stuck at lower ranks, you know, teal ranks or green ranks, and they're like, seem like they're really solid, like, they crazy good execution, like, good punishment knowledge, and they're still just stuck because these characters are just hard. And some people push through it and get really, really good at the game. But it is not for everybody. It's much easier, I think, to pick up Kazumi, learn the basics, and then maybe switch over to the Mishimas when you feel that you're ready for the execution element of it. Same thing with kind of Jin. Jin's kind of in this weird in the middle place where he has the Mishima tools, but he also has like normal lows, some pretty good pokes. He's got really good strings, so it seems like Jin might be a pretty solid beginner player, beginner character rather, and he can be, but one of the problems with Jin is he's got so many moves and so many tools that beginners get overwhelmed, and they don't know like what they should be using or when, which is why like Shaheen, Kazumi, and Jack having a small selection of offensive tools makes it so you don't really have to sit there and wonder what thing from your move list you should do next. If you're Kazumi, you're going to do a lot of jab, a lot of down 4-1. With Jack, you're going to do a lot of 2 jab, down back 1 throws. Shaheen, you're going to do a lot of 1-2, a lot of jab, a lot of down 3 and down 4. So pretty much very simple game plans on these 3 that I recommend, and that's going to help you focus on learning the game and understanding the game a little better. And then you might find that, you know, Jack's your guy and you're just going to roll with Jack. Or you might find, like, you know what, I think I'm going to try out Marduk because I kind of like this throw thing and I want to try out another big body. Or maybe you're just like, I don't like being this big. I'm too big, I'm getting comboed in all these situations, I'm having trouble getting off the ground. I want to play a smaller character, a normal sized character. So you'll definitely get a feel for the game. In fact, I would say try all 3 of these characters. And then go with whoever you think vibes with you the most. And, you know, at least try to get to green ranks with them. If you can get to green ranks, then you can kind of make a call. Do I want to keep going with Kazumi, or do I want to switch over, try someone else? Maybe then you get to yellow ranks, and you're like, okay, well, maybe now I'm ready. Or maybe you get to... Or maybe you get all the way to Genbu or Fujin and then decide, you know what, I'm going to learn my true main now. I've learned enough about this game and I stand Julia. So that's just kind of one way you could go about getting into this game. If you already know who your Omega stan is, who you want to just, you have Lucky Chloe artwork on your wall, and you've got the Lucky Chloe pink cat ears headset on. I don't even know why you made it this far in the video. Just play Lucky Chloe, you'll be fine. Everybody, hope you have some good luck in ranked. I hope you have a good time learning this game. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching.